A maid, a secret, and a royal truth waiting to be revealed. Watch closely because every second matters. And subscribe if you love true emotional storytelling. Before the sun touched the rooftops of the busy city, Amina was already awake. The cold floor pressed against her bare feet as she quietly swept the long hallway. The house was big, beautiful, but to her, it felt like a cage. From the kitchen, Madame Zola's sharp voice cut through the silence. "Amina, why are you so slow? Do you want to sleep all day?" Amina lowered her eyes. "No, madame, I'm sorry." Her voice was soft, almost invisible, just like her. She moved quickly, carrying heavy buckets of water, her hands rough and tired. No one asked if she had eaten. No one cared if she was sick. To them, she was just a maid, nothing more. But deep inside, Amina felt something she could not explain. Why does this life feel so wrong? She wondered. As she wiped the floor, her fingers touched the small necklace hidden under her dress. She held it tightly, her heart beating faster. It was the only thing she had from her past, a past she couldn't remember clearly. Outside, the city was waking up. But inside that house, Amina's life remained trapped in silence, waiting for a truth she didn't even know existed. By midday, the house was alive with noise, but for Amina, it only meant more pain. She moved quickly between rooms, carrying trays, cleaning spills, fixing what others broke. Still, nothing she did was ever enough. "Amina, come here." Lena's voice echoed from the living room. Amina rushed in, her hands still wet. Lena stood with her arms crossed, her face full of irritation. "Did you iron this dress? Look at it. It's full of wrinkles." I did, miss. Maybe I can fix it again." "Fix it," Lena snapped, throwing the dress onto the floor. "You always ruin everything. I don't even know why mother keeps you here." Amina bent down slowly, picking up the dress with trembling hands. Her cheeks burned with shame, but she said nothing. She had learned that silence was safer than speaking. From the corner, Madame Zola watched with cold eyes. "Stop wasting time, Amina. And after this, go clean the front yard. We have visitors coming." "Yes, madam," Amina whispered. Outside, the sun was harsh, but felt nothing compared to the weight in her chest. As she swept the yard, two neighbors passed by the gate, laughing softly. One of them glanced at Amina and shook her head. "Such girls, no family, no future. They are lucky to even have work." The words cut deep. Amina paused for a moment, gripping the broom tightly. No family, no future. The sentence echoed in her mind like a cruel truth she couldn't escape. Later, when the guests arrived, Amina served food quietly, moving like a shadow. The women sitting in the room barely looked at her. One of them whispered loudly, "These house girls, you can never trust them. They steal if you don't watch closely." Amina's heart dropped. She wanted to say something to defend herself, but fear held her back. Suddenly, Madame Zola called out, "Amina, where's my gold bracelet?" Amina froze. I don't know, madam. I haven't seen it." Madame Zola's face hardened. "Are you saying it disappeared on its own?" The room went silent. All eyes turned to Amina. "I would never steal," Amina said softly, her voice shaking. Lena laughed mockingly. "Of course you would say that. That's what they all say." Tears filled Amina's eyes, but she forced herself not to cry. "Why does no one believe me?" she thought. After a long, painful moment, the bracelet was found on the table, where Lena had left it earlier. But no one apologized. No one said a word. Amina quietly returned to the kitchen, her chest heavy with pain. She leaned against the wall, closing her eyes for a second. In that moment, something inside her began to change, not loudly, not suddenly, but deeply. She was tired of being treated like she was nothing, tired of carrying pain that no one could see. But still she endured, because deep down, a small voice whispered inside her, "This is not where your story ends." That night, after everyone had gone to sleep, Amina sat quietly on the cold kitchen floor. The house was finally silent, but her heart was not. She pulled out the small necklace from under her dress and stared at it in the dim light. Her fingers traced the strange symbol carved into it. Why do I feel like you're trying to tell me something? She whispered. As she closed her eyes, a memory slowly began to rise, soft at first, like a distant dream, then clearer. She saw herself as a little girl running barefoot on warm earth. The air was filled with laughter. Her laughter. Amina, come back here. A gentle voice called. She turned, smiling brightly. Her mother stood near a small house, her eyes full of love. She wore a beautiful patterned dress, her presence calm and strong. Mother! Young Amina ran into her arms. Her mother held her tightly, brushing her hair back. You must always stay close to me, my child, she said softly. Why? Little Amina asked, her innocent eyes wide. Her mother hesitated, then forced a smile. Because you are very special. The words felt warm, but also heavy, like they carried a meaning Amina didn't understand. The memory shifted. The sky grew darker. The peaceful village was no longer calm. Voices were raised. Fear filled the air. Young Amina stood near the doorway, her small hands trembling. Mother, what's happening? Her mother rushed to her, her face no longer calm. There was fear in her eyes, deep, urgent fear. Listen to me carefully, she said, kneeling down. Her hands held Amina's shoulders tightly. No matter what happens, you must stay strong. Do you understand? Amina nodded slowly, confused. Her mother quickly removed the necklace from her own neck and placed it around Amina's. Keep this safe. Never lose it. It will protect you, and one day, it will tell you who you truly are. Before Amina could ask anything, loud footsteps approached. The door burst open. Strange men entered, tall, serious, their faces cold and unfamiliar. Take the child, one of them said firmly. No, her mother cried, pulling Amina close. Please, she's just a child. Amina clung to her mother, her small heart racing. Mother, don't let them take me. Tears rolled down her mother's face, but she tried to stay strong. Amina, look at me, she whispered. You are stronger than you think. Never forget that. The men pulled Amina away. She screamed, reaching out. Mother! Mother! Her mother's voice echoed one last time, breaking with pain. I love you. Then everything faded. Amina's eyes snapped open. Her breathing was heavy, her face wet with tears. She held the necklace tightly, her hands shaking. That was real, she whispered. For the first time, she didn't just feel lost. She felt connected to something bigger, something hidden. But one question now burned deep inside her heart. Who was she really? The night felt heavier than usual, as if the air itself carried secrets. Amina sat alone near the small window in the servant's room, staring at the necklace resting in her palm. The moonlight fell softly on it, revealing details she had never noticed before. The symbol carved into the pendant was not ordinary. It looked ancient, powerful, almost royal. Her heart beat faster. What are you? She whispered, her voice barely audible. She turned the necklace slowly, her fingers tracing every line. The memory of her mother's words echoed in her mind. It will tell you who you truly are. Amina swallowed hard. Tell me how, she murmured. For years, she had treated the necklace like a simple keepsake, something emotional but meaningless. But now, after the flashback, everything felt different. It wasn't just a memory, it was a clue, a key to something hidden. She stood up and moved closer to the small mirror hanging on the wall. Holding the necklace against her chest, she looked at her reflection. Her tired eyes stared back at her. But tonight, there was something new inside them, something awake. Who am I? She asked softly. Silence answered her. But then, something unusual caught her attention. As the moonlight shifted, the symbol on the necklace reflected a faint glow onto the wall. Amina frowned slightly. That wasn't there before. Curious, she moved the necklace again. The light shifted with it, forming a faint pattern on the wall, almost like a shape or a mark. Her breath slowed. Is this the sign? She stepped closer, her heart pounding louder with every second. The glow faded quickly, but the feeling remained. Something about this necklace was not normal. Amina quickly wrapped it back in a small cloth and held it tightly. For the first time, fear mixed with hope inside her chest. If this is important, Then why was I hidden, she thought. Her mind raced with questions. Why did those men take her? Why did her mother look so afraid? And most of all, why had she ended up here, living a life that never felt like her own? A sudden noise outside the room made her jump. Footsteps passed by, then faded. Amina quickly hid the necklace under her dress again, her breathing uneven. She looked around the small room. The thin mattress, the cracked walls, the silence that had always surrounded her. This place, this life, she whispered slowly, it doesn't belong to me. The realization was quiet, but powerful. For years, she had accepted everything without question. The insults, the pain, the loneliness. But now, something inside her refused to stay silent anymore. She didn't know the full truth yet. She didn't know where the necklace would lead her. But one thing was certain. Her story was not what it seemed. And somewhere, hidden in the shadows of her past, a truth was waiting to be found. Morning came, but Amina felt no strength in her body. The night before had changed something inside her. The questions, the memories, the necklace, everything was growing louder in her mind. Still, she forced herself to continue her duties. She swept, cleaned, cooked just like every other day. But today felt different. Today, the silence inside her was no longer peaceful. It was heavy, almost ready to break. Amina. Madame Zola's voice rang sharply through the house. Amina hurried into the living room. Yes, madam. Madame Zola stood with her arms crossed, her face cold. Lena stood beside her, holding an empty jewelry box. My gold earrings are missing, Lena said, her tone full of accusation. And you were the only one in my room this morning. Amina's heart dropped. No, miss. I didn't take anything. I was only cleaning. Stop lying. Lena snapped loudly. You people are all the same. The words hit harder than a slap. Amina froze. You people. Madame Zola stepped forward, her eyes filled with anger. I trusted you. I gave you a place to stay, food to eat, and this is how you repay me? Amina shook her head quickly, tears forming in her eyes. Please, madam, I would never steal. I swear. Swear. Lena laughed bitterly. Your words mean nothing. Without warning, Lena pushed Amina's shoulder. Amina stumbled back, almost falling. The room felt smaller, tighter. Her chest burned with emotion she had buried for years. Search her, Lena said coldly. Amina's eyes widened. No, please don't. But Madame Zola had already stepped forward. She grabbed Amina's arm roughly and began checking her pockets. The humiliation was unbearable. Amina stood there, shaking, unable to move. Then suddenly, the necklace slipped out from under her dress. It fell into the light. For a brief second, the room went quiet. The pendant shimmered softly. What is this? Madame Zola asked sharply, picking it up. Amina quickly reached for it. Please, give it back. It's mine. Lena narrowed her eyes. Where did you steal that from? I didn't steal it. Amina's voice cracked, but this time it was louder, stronger. Something inside her snapped. I didn't steal anything, she repeated, her voice shaking but firm. Tears rolled down her face, but she didn't lower her eyes this time. All these years you've blamed me, insulted me, treated me like I'm nothing. Madame Zola looked shocked. How dare you speak to me like that? How dare you treat me like I'm not human? Amina said, her voice rising with pain. I clean your house. I serve you every day. And still, you see me as a thief? The room fell into silence. Even Lena stepped back slightly, surprised. Amina took a deep breath, her chest heavy, but her voice clear. I may be poor. I may be alone, but I'm not what you think I am. She reached out and took the necklace back, holding it tightly. For the first time, she didn't feel small. She felt something else. Strength. I'm done, she whispered. Those two words carried years of pain, hidden tears, and silent suffering. And in that moment, Amina was no longer just a maid. She was a storm waiting to rise. The house was still tense after Amina's outburst. The silence that followed felt strange, almost uncomfortable, as if something bigger was about to happen. Amina stood near the doorway, her heart still racing, her fingers wrapped tightly around the necklace. For the first time, she didn't bow her head. She didn't apologize. Then suddenly, a loud knock echoed through the house. Everyone froze. Madame Zola frowned. Who could that be at this hour? Before anyone could respond, the knock came again, stronger, more commanding this time. Amina felt a strange chill run down her spine. Why does this feel different? She thought. Madame Zola gestured to one of the workers. Go and open the door. The door creaked open slowly, and in walked 3 men. They were not ordinary visitors. Their presence alone changed the atmosphere in the room. They were dressed in clean, formal clothing, their posture straight, their expression serious. Behind them stood 2 uniformed guards, their eyes sharp and watchful. The entire house fell silent. Madame Zola quickly stepped forward, forcing a polite smile. Welcome. How can I help you? The elder man among them stepped forward. His face was calm, but his eyes carried authority and wisdom. We are not here for business, he said firmly. We are looking for someone. Amina's heart skipped a beat. Madame Zola looked confused. Someone? In my house. The man nodded slowly. Yes, a young woman, possibly working here. Lena scoffed quietly. There are many girls like that. Be more specific. The elder man paused for a moment, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a small piece of paper. On it was a drawing, a symbol. Amina's breath stopped. It was the same symbol, the same one on her necklace. Her fingers tightened around it. No, this can't be real. We are searching for the owner of this mark, the man continued. It belongs to a royal bloodline that was thought to be lost many years ago. The room went completely still. Amina felt her legs weaken slightly. Her mind raced, her heart pounding louder than ever before. Royal bloodline lost. Slowly, without even realizing it, her hand moved. The necklace slipped out from her grasp, catching the light once again. The moment the elder man saw it, his eyes widened. Wait, he said, stepping closer. The guard straightened immediately. Madame Zola looked confused. What is happening? But the elder man was no longer listening. His eyes were locked on Amina. Where did you get that? He asked, his voice suddenly intense. Amina hesitated, her voice trembling. It was my mother's. The man took another step forward, his expression filled with shock and something deeper, recognition. This cannot be, he whispered. The air felt heavy, like time itself had paused. Amina's heart pounded in her chest. Fear, confusion, and hope all collided inside her. Who are you? She asked softly. The elder man looked at her, with deep emotion in his eyes. Then he said the words that would change everything. We have been searching for you for many years. And in that moment, Amina's life stood at the edge of a truth she had never imagined. The room felt frozen in time. No one moved. No one spoke. All eyes were on Amina, and the necklace in her trembling hands. Her heart pounded so loudly, she could barely hear her own breath. We have been searching for you for many years. The elder man's words echoed in the silence. Amina shook her head slightly, confused. You must be mistaken. I'm just a maid. No, the royal advisor said firmly, stepping closer. His eyes were filled with certainty now. You're not just a maid. That necklace, it carries the royal crest of the Nuru kingdom, a bloodline that disappeared nearly 2 decades ago. Madame Zola's face lost all color. Royal? That girl. Lena laughed nervously. This is ridiculous. She's lying. She probably stole it. Silence. One of the guards said sharply, his voice cutting through the room like a blade. Lena stepped back, shocked. The advisor turned back to Amina, his voice softer now. Tell me, do you remember anything? Your childhood? Your mother? Amina's hands began to shake. The memories rushed back. The warm sunlight, her mother's voice, the fear, the men, the separation. My mother, her voice broke. She gave me this necklace. She told me it would tell me who I am. The advisor closed his eyes for a brief moment, as if holding back emotion. Then it is true. He looked at her again, this time with deep respect. You are Princess Amina Nuru, the lost daughter of Queen Zarya. The words hit like thunder. Amina stepped back, her eyes wide with disbelief. Princess? Her mind struggled to accept it. This can't be real. How can someone like me? But deep inside, something felt right, like a missing piece had finally found its place. Madame Zola quickly stepped forward, her voice shaking. There must be some mistake. She's been here for years. She works for me. She was never yours to own, the advisor interrupted calmly. She was taken, hidden, lost. The room grew tense again. Her mother, the queen, was attacked by enemies of the throne, he continued. To protect the child, she was secretly taken away. But in the chaos, she disappeared. Amina's eyes filled with tears. My mother, is she alive? The advisor hesitated. Then slowly, he lowered his gaze. I'm sorry, she did not survive. The words broke something inside Amina. Tears streamed down her face as the truth sank in. All those years, the pain, the confusion, the emptiness. It all made sense now. She wasn't abandoned. She was lost. Lena stood frozen, her face pale. Madame Zola looked down, unable to meet Amina's eyes anymore. The same girl they had insulted, blamed, treated like nothing, was standing before them as royalty. Amina wiped her tears slowly, her chest rising and falling deeply. I don't know what to feel, she whispered. The advisor nodded gently. You don't have to understand everything now. But one thing is clear. He stepped back slightly and bowed his head. You are not a servant. The guards followed, lowering their heads in respect. You are the rightful heir. The silence that followed was no longer heavy with doubt. It was filled with truth. And in that moment, Amina's identity was no longer hidden. It was finally revealed. The room that once echoed with commands and insults was now filled with a heavy, painful silence. Madame Zola stood frozen, her hands slightly trembling, her eyes fixed on Amina. But this time, there was no anger in them. Only fear and regret. Lena, who had always spoken with pride, now looked small and uncertain. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Amina stood in the center of the room, still holding the necklace. The same place where she had been humiliated so many times now felt unfamiliar. Almost unreal. Madame Zola slowly took a step forward. Her voice, once sharp and commanding, now trembled with hesitation. Amina, she said softly. Amina didn't respond. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried years of pain. I didn't know, Madame Zola continued, her voice breaking slightly. If I had known who you were, I would have never treated you this way. Those words hung in the air. Amina finally looked at her. There was no anger in her expression, just quiet disappointment. So, you would have treated me better only because I am royal? She asked gently. The question hit harder than any accusation. Madame Zola lowered her head, unable to answer. Lena quickly stepped forward, panic in her voice. Amina, please, we didn't mean it like that. We were just what? Amina interrupted softly. Lena swallowed hard. We thought you were nobody. A painful silence followed. Amina took a slow breath. That's the problem, she said quietly. You thought I was nobody, so you treated me like nothing. Her words were calm, but they carried deep truth. Madame Zola's eyes filled with tears. Please forgive us. We made a mistake. Amina looked at her for a long moment. Memories flashed in her mind. The insults, the accusations, the loneliness, the silent tears she had cried at night. I was hungry, and no one cared, she said softly. I was sick and still had to work. I was accused of stealing, and no one believed me. Each word felt like a weight in the room. I begged for kindness, not respect, not status, just kindness. Madame Zola covered her mouth, tears falling freely now. Lena looked down, ashamed, unable to meet Amina's eyes. We are sorry, Lena whispered, her voice breaking. Please give us another chance. Amina's grip tightened slightly on necklace. For a moment, it seemed like she might speak with anger or turn away completely. But instead, she closed her eyes. Inside her heart, there was pain, but also strength. When she opened her eyes again, her voice was calm. I forgive you, she said. Both Madame Zola and Lena looked up in shock. But forgiveness does not erase the past. Amina continued gently. And it does not mean I can stay. The truth settled deeply in the room. Madame Zola took a step forward. Please don't leave like this. But Amina shook her head slowly. This house was never my home, she said quietly. For the first time, her words didn't sound like sadness. They sounded like freedom. And in that moment, Madame Zola and Lena realized something painful. They hadn't just lost a servant. They had lost someone they never truly valued. The air outside the house felt different, lighter, freer. For the first time in years, Amina stood at the doorway, not as a servant waiting for orders, but as someone about to choose her own path. The royal guards waited beside a sleek vehicle, their posture respectful. The royal advisor stood a few steps away, watching her quietly, giving her space to decide. Amina took a slow breath and looked back at the house. The same walls that had once trapped her now felt small, distant. Memories passed through her mind like shadows. Early mornings, harsh words, silent tears. This is where I suffered, but also where I survived, she thought. The advisor stepped closer, his voice calm and respectful. Your Highness, we are ready when you are. The palace awaits you. Amina hesitated at the title. Your Highness. It still felt strange, almost unreal. She looked down at her hands, once rough from hard work, now steady. Strong. Will everything change now? She asked softly. The advisor nodded. Yes, but who you choose to become, that is still in your hands. His words stayed with her. For a moment, Amina closed her eyes. She could choose anger. She could use her power to punish those who hurt her. After everything she had been through, no one would question it. But deep inside, another voice spoke louder. If you become like them, then what was the point of your pain? Amina opened her eyes slowly. There was no hatred in them, only clarity. I don't want revenge, she said quietly. The advisor studied her face, then nodded with quiet approval. I want to be different, Amina continued. I know how it feels to be treated like nothing. I know what pain silence carries. If I have power now, then I will use it to protect, not to destroy. The guards exchanged subtle glances, impressed by her words. Amina turned back once more toward the house. Madame Zola and Lena stood at the door, watching her leave. Their faces filled with regret, but also something new, understanding. Amina didn't smile, but she didn't look away either. There was no anger left in her heart, only truth. I forgive them, she whispered to herself, but I will never return to that life. The wind moved gently around her, as if carrying away the last pieces of her past. She stepped forward, one step then another. Each step felt stronger than the last. The advisor opened the car door for her, bowing his head slightly. Welcome back, Princess Amina, he said with respect. Amina paused for a second before entering. She looked at the sky above, wide, endless, full of possibility. This is not just my story anymore, she thought. This is my purpose. Then she stepped into the car. As the vehicle slowly drove away, Amina didn't look back again. Not because she forgot the past, but because she had finally risen above it. The journey to the palace felt long, but Amina didn't mind. She sat quietly by the window, watching the city pass by, busy streets, small homes, people walking with hope and struggle in their eyes. Just days ago, she had been one of them, unseen, unheard, forgotten. Now everything had changed, but instead of feeling proud, she felt something deeper. Responsibility. When the car finally stopped, the gates slowly opened, revealing a grand palace standing tall under the golden sunlight. It was beautiful, powerful, but also unfamiliar. Amina stepped out slowly. The guard stood in respect, and workers lined up quietly. As she walked forward, she could feel all eyes on her, but this time it wasn't judgment. It was honor. Still, her heart beat softly with emotion. This is where I belong, but why does it feel so heavy? Inside the palace, the royal advisor walked beside her. This was your home, he said gently. Amina looked around. The high ceilings, the polished floors, the silence filled with history. She repeated softly. They entered a large room filled with portraits. One painting caught her attention immediately. A woman stood proudly, wearing royal attire. Her eyes were familiar. Amina's breath caught. "My mother," she whispered. She stepped closer, her eyes filling with tears. For a moment, the world around her disappeared. "I found my way back, but you're not here to see it," she said quietly. Her voice trembled, but she didn't break. Instead, she placed her hand gently over her heart. "I remember what you told me," she continued softly. "To stay strong, no matter what happens." The pain was still there, but it no longer controlled her. It had shaped her. The advisor stood at a respectful distance. "The kingdom has been waiting for a leader," he said. "Someone who understands both power and pain." Amina wiped her tears slowly and turned to face him. "I don't want to be a ruler who sits far away from her people," she said firmly. "I want to listen to them, help them, protect those who feel invisible like I once did." The advisor smiled slightly. "Then you'll be a great queen." Amina took a deep breath and looked out through the large window. The city stretched far into the distance, the same place where her story began and where so many others were still struggling. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. Days later, Amina stood before a crowd. Not as a maid, not as a lost girl, but as a leader. Her voice was calm, but powerful. "No one should be treated like they are nothing," she said. "Because every person has a story, and every story has value." The crowd listened in silence. Then slowly, applause began to rise. Amina smiled gently, not out of pride, but purpose. She had lost her past, but found her truth. And now, she would use it to change the future. Because true greatness is not in power, but in how you choose to use it. Never judge someone by their position today, because their true story may be far greater than you imagine. Kindness matters, because you never know who someone truly is.